This is cricket season and the Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, he drew a cricketing analogy when he said that when the other side suffered an innings defeat, you don't count the number of wickets you've lost. And this was in response to a question, how many aircraft did India lose during Operation Sindoor? And no doubt, India did lose aircraft in the early phase of war, as mentioned by Air Marshal Bharti, Director General of Air Operations. But what's significant is the outcome. 9 terror bases bombed, 13 air bases in Pakistan remain in coma, and much more. And that's our top focus story. Not the losses, but the outcome of Operation Sindoor.
Operation Sindoor created history.
Operation Sindoor created a kind of an history of sorts as far as air warfare is concerned, and we were able to penetrate those air defense networks with impunity and at will.
Pak operations folded in 8 hours.
From their perspective, it would have been rational in the sense they would have said that you use military means to hit these targets. But it was also rational on their part, operation which they thought they'll continue for 48 hours, folded up in about 8 hours.
Losses not important. Outcomes are.
I think as a professional force that is not affected by setbacks or kind of losses, if you may say. Losses are not important. It's the outcome which is important.
Forces raised the bar against terror.
We have connected terror to water, and we have drawn out the new lines for military operations against terror.
CDS tears into Pakistan Army Chief.
Now Pakistan is faced with a different kind of a prospect that he faces military action in case we find terror happening against us. India is not going to live under the shadow of terror and neither nuclear blackmail.
Chief of Defence Staff's big warning to Terroristan. Top focus on India first.
It's significant what General Anil Chauhan says, that Pakistan intended to fight for 48 hours. Pakistan launched wave after wave of strike, but not one succeeded. And when India struck Pakistan, details of which continue to tumble out of Pakistan's closet, Islamabad, or more appropriately, Rawalpindi, the seat of power in Pakistan, folded in under 8 hours, seeking a ceasefire. There are many lessons from this ongoing Operation Sindoor, and we debate that on this special broadcast. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started. Massive escalation in politics over Operation Sindoor. Senior Congress Party leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, has directly targeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Rahul Gandhi said Narendra surrendered after Trump's call. Narendra surrender is what Rahul Gandhi says. Rahul Gandhi says the BJP and the RSS have always buckled under pressure. He says he understands the BJP. Give them a little push and they buckle, they run away. This is what Rahul Gandhi said about Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Operation Sindoor. He also drew a parallel with late Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India during the 1971 war for the liberation of Bangladesh. He said the Americans had sent in their 7th fleet. The aircraft carrier was in the Indian Ocean region, but Indira Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi says, did not surrender. She did not buckle under pressure. She did what she had to do. I'll get you more on this story because the BJP has come out all guns blazing, targeting Rahul Gandhi over the Narendra surrender remark, especially after Donald Trump, according to Rahul Gandhi, spoke to the Prime Minister. Of course, it was US Vice President J.D. Vance, but that's a separate story. Let's listen into Rahul Gandhi before I get you more on the story.
जैसे उधर से ट्रंप ने एक इशारा किया, फोन उठाया, कहा मोदी जी क्या कर रहे हो? नरेंद्र सरेंडर और जी हजूर करके नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने ट्रंप के इशारे का पालन किया।
Narendra surrender or Ji Hazur karke the Prime Minister surrendered is what Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi claims. Congress Party's own Member of Parliament and a prominent leader of the Indian delegation to the United States of America, Shashi Tharoor, has contradicted Rahul Gandhi or the Congress Party line, saying that it was Pakistan that was under pressure. It was Pakistan that was spoken to by the United States of America for the ceasefire, and India did not need persuasion. And this is a fact that India has repeatedly been stating, that India had told Pakistan, do not escalate. India told all interlocutors that Pakistan must call India up. If Pakistan does not escalate, India has done its job by targeting the 9 terror bases. Listen in to what Shashi Tharoor had to say.
We have enormous respect for the American presidency, and we will speak with that respect in mind. But broadly speaking, our understanding is a bit different. We had consistently said from the very beginning on May 7th that we are not interested in prolonging conflict. This is not the opening salvo in some sort of war. All it is retribution against the terrorists, period. If Pakistan had not reacted, we would not have reacted. That would have been the end of that. Pakistan chose to react with shelling, then we reacted to the Pakistan reaction. And throughout every day, the message was the same from India to everybody who would listen. If they hit, we'll hit. If they stop, we'll stop. We don't want war. We want to focus on our growth and development. This message was given to everybody. Our foreign minister was getting calls from other foreign ministers. He was saying the same thing. So in that sense, no one needed to persuade us to stop. We had already said stop. So if there was any persuasion by the American president or his senior officials, it would have been persuasion of the Pakistanis. They would have had to be persuaded. We don't need to be persuaded because we don't want war. We want to focus on development.
But Rahul Gandhi is very clear. Narendra surrender is his appreciation of the situation. And I quickly want to bring in Arshdeep Kadyal of the Congress Party and Sanju Verma of the Bharatiya Janata Party joining me on the broadcast. Sanju Verma, you heard Rahul Gandhi. His appreciation is Donald Trump called up. Narendra, kya kar rahe ho? Narendra surrender. Sanju Verma, respond.
You know, Gaurav, I think you understand defense, national security and related matters better than most of us. And I think you don't need to have an IQ of more than 40 or 50 to understand why Rahul Gandhi is called Mandabuddhi and Pappu. I did not want to make this personal. But Rahul Gandhi, आपको 3 लोकसभा चुनाव में लगातार the electorate has shown you the exit door. Lok Sabha 2014, Lok Sabha 2019 and Lok Sabha 2024. You have led your party from one disaster to another, having lost more than 91 big and small elections for your party. And you are busy waxing eloquent about how RSS BJP मेरे से डर जाते हैं, इनको थोड़ा धक्का मारो तो ये भाग जाते हैं.
My only request is one, no personal comments, no personal attacks. That's my only request to all our guests. But you know, on his saying Narendra surrender, Arshdeep Kadyal, Shashi Tharoor is a Congress Party leader and a very prominent one and member of Parliament. Yes, minus personal attacks, ma'am, because that kind of just diverts from the main focus, ma'am.
Yeah, but let me finish.
Okay, quickly complete, minus the personal attacks, ma'am. Please go on. Yes, please go on.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Gaurav, my simple submission is this. Till yesterday, the entire Congress brigade used to mock Donald Trump. और आज कांग्रेस के जो नेता हैं राहुल गांधी के नहीं डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के चरण चुंबक बन चुके हैं. My simple submission again is this, Gaurav, that you know, everybody has reported, every journalist worth a little bit of credibility or otherwise says 9 terror hubs of Pakistan were shattered, 11 air defense systems were paralyzed, Pakistan's military assets were completely exposed, Pakistan's nuclear bluff was called out fair and square. For the first time in 65 years, it took a man of Narendra Modi's stature to put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. And this entire Congress cabal, what do they say? Indira Gandhi ban pana aasan nahi hai. अरे भाई साहब यही तो हम कह रहे हैं. इंदिरा गांधी बन पाना आसान नहीं है because she could not secure 54 Indian POWs who were left to rot and die in Pakistan.
So let's take this point by point. Ma'am, you've made a pertinent point. Let me get Arshdeep Kadyal to respond. Sir, to say Narendra surrender when your own party leader is stating facts or the position in the United States of America? Arshdeep Kadial, what do you make of what Rahul Gandhi said?
Number one, India wants to know why did Mr. Modi surrender to Donald Trump? Because it's a matter of fact that the US did say to us that if you do a ceasefire, then we will do trade. If you do not do a ceasefire, there will be no trade with you. There was an ultimatum, and why did Mr. Modi surrender to that? We want to know. Number two, the US announced before us that a ceasefire has happened, and after that we announced it. Number three, we also want to know it from the Bharatiya Janata Party that why is the US being the big brother here and trying to mediate a matter that is between India and Pakistan? Why is the US giving us diktats? And why is Mr. Modi quiet over this? Donald Trump in 21 days made 9 mentions about this, 9 mentions. And Mr. Modi, he has been campaigning back to back in so many rallies. He has said it. He has talked about everything under the sun, but he has not once rebutted Donald Trump. And we want to know it from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Why does Mr. Modi listen to US more, Donald Trump more than listen to his own country? And why did the Bharatiya Janata Party lie to its own country is what we want to know. Because they said that there is no role of the US, but the Donald Trump administration has submitted in the US federal court that Donald Trump used trade to have the ceasefire. And our image globally has been hit because of that. The morale of our army has been hit because of that. And we want to know it from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Is this the reason as to why
Sanju Verma, quickly respond, ma'am.
10 seconds, please. 10 seconds only. Is this the reason as to why the Bharatiya Janata Party is not having a special...
Let me make something very clear.
Is this the reason
Just 10 seconds for him to complete his point, ma'am, then I'm coming to you.
Now we understand why the Bharatiya Janata Party is running away from a special parliament session. Now we understand why Mr. Modi skipped the all-party meeting and rather went to campaign in Bihar for a rally, for a campaign. This goes on to suggest what the priorities of the Bharatiya Janata Party is. This goes on to suggest that Mr. Modi does not want to face the questions. This goes on to suggest that the country has been misled by the Bharatiya Janata Party's government. They have lied to us time and again. They said that there has been no role of the US. But on the other hand, Donald Trump has been repeatedly saying it. They have submitted in a US court. And despite that, Mr. Modi not once has said, why did he surrender to Donald Trump? And why...
Sir, as we wait for Sanju Verma's line to be connected once again, I think Sanju Verma is back. Sanju Verma, respond to the points made by Arshdeep Kadial that repeatedly Donald Trump, despite India's protests, has been making that point. It was he who ensured a ceasefire and used trade as a weapon to get India and Pakistan to agree to a ceasefire.
Gaurav, first and foremost, my line was never disconnected. I could hear every word of what the Congress said and what you were saying. And now I want my time. Because if you call me for a debate, give me the courtesy.
You will get your time. You'll get your time. Go ahead, Sanju Verma.
Yes. I don't want to be heckled by the Congress spokesperson. Make sure of that. Now, let me say one thing. First and foremost, what did the DGMO say? The DGMO said, we called out Pakistan's nuclear bluff. What did the External Affairs Minister say? He said that we've imposed disproportionate costs on Pakistan. What did the MEA spokesperson say? The MEA spokesperson said for the first time in 65 years, the Indus Water Treaty has been put in abeyance, bringing Pakistan down to its knees. What did Prime Minister Modi say? Ghar mein ghus ke nahi mara, सीने पर वार किया है. What did Rajnath Singh say? Ceasefire का सवाल नहीं उठता है. This is an ongoing operation. We've only taken a pause. What did Union Home Minister Amit Shah say? He said, जब तक नरेंद्र मोदी प्रधानमंत्री हैं, पाकिस्तान की जुर्रत नहीं होगी आगे चल के कि दोबारा पहलगाम हो सके. But the Congress and its Darbari ecosystem will not believe Amit Shah, will not believe Jaishankar, will not believe DGMO, will not believe MEA, will not believe Jaishankar. अभी इनके नए पापा बन गए हैं Donald Trump. But Gaurav, my final point is this. Between 1948 and 1964, prior to Nehru's demise, in those 16 years, it is documented publicly. On 24 occasions, the Congress went pleading to the United Nations for intervening on issues related to Kashmir. After the 1965 war, the Tashkent summit happened because the Congress wanted the Soviet Union to intervene. And In 1972, after the 1971 war, Indira Gandhi caved into every ridiculous demand of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and lost the gains of the 1971 war at the negotiating table. और ये लोग आज नरेंद्र मोदी को नैतिकता पर भाषण देते हैं. Shame on you. You guys don't believe your own army. You don't believe your own DGMO. You don't believe your own Prime Minister.
Let me get Arshdeep Karyal to respond to that.
But you believe Donald Trump.
Pertinent point you make, ma'am. Mr. Karyal, do respond, because repeatedly government of India and various officials from the DGMO to the Foreign Secretary to the Defense Minister to the External Affairs Minister, the Prime Minister himself have clarified on a number of issues. Sanju Verma's point is, you'd rather believe a Donald Trump than your own leadership?
The fact of the matter is, because we have been lied by the Bharatiya Janata Party's government time and time again. We all saw how the Bharatiya Janata Party's government, when they were asked, has any jet been downed? They said, what language are you talking about? Aap kaun si boli bol rahe hain? And after that, the CDS clarified that jets were down. See, I request.
Okay, Sanju Verma, let him complete his point. Sanju Verma, just let him complete his point. I'm coming to you, ma'am. Let him complete his point, ma'am.
Thank you.
Finish.
So after that, the CDS categorically said that the jets were down, and their own Bharatiya Janata Party's leader, Subramaniam Swamy, said 5 jets were down, and he said Pakistan used Chinese fighter jets. Mr. Modi didn't utter a word on that. Now, Mr. Modi had 8 days. In 8 days, he did 9 rallies, 6 states he covered. He tried to take credit for Operation Sindoor, which goes to the army, which goes to our forces. But he did not once rebut Donald Trump on his claims, on what the submission that they made in the US federal court and in written. And number 2, we see how we are being treated. June 15, Canada is doing a summit. We have not even been invited. And number 2, 4 terrorists. Countries asking the Bharatiya Janata Party's government, where are those 4 terrorists? Why have they still not been nabbed? It's been more than a month. They carried out the Pahalgam attack, the Poonch attack, the Ganderbal attack, the Gulmarg attack. Why is Mr. Modi silent over that? Number 2, Vijay Shah, he's still a minister. He has still not been expelled from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Why is Mr. Modi quiet over that? Number 3, the advance advice that was given by Mr. Jaishankar to Pakistan. The main element of an operation is surprise element. Why did you do away with that? Why this help to Pakistan? And even said that a good advice has been given to Pakistan. Number 4, the Bharatiya Janata Party ought to tell us this thing, that time and time again, when the country was demanding a special parliament session, they were asking questions. Why did you evade it time and time again? And why did Mr. Modi evade a all-party meeting and rather went for a campaign rally that was to be done in
Sanju
Bihar?
Verma, quickly respond to the point
No
that is repeatedly being made, one on the special session of parliament and on aircraft lost, that the Congress wants to know. If aircraft have been lost, why is the government not coming clean on it?
When he was speaking, he was the only person on air. Can I be given that courtesy? I refuse to be given, the second fiddle treatment. Thank you.
Go on.
Yes. Now let me make my point. Gaurav, let me say one thing very clearly. The Congress has been saying, we respect our armed forces, but the BJP is lying to us. The Congress respects armed forces? That's an oxymoron. Kanhaiya Kumar, the so-called youth Congress leader, called the army a bunch of rapists. Did the Congress take action against him? Congress MLA from Karnataka, K. Manjunath, made fun of our armed forces post-Operation Sindoor. Did Rahul Gandhi take action against K. Manjunath? Then you have Charanjit Singh Channi, a Rajya Sabha MP from the Congress, saying, "Saboot dikhao. Operation Sindoor hua ya nahi? Hame to ye bhi khabar nahi." Has any action been taken against Charanjit Channi? Siddaramaiah, the sitting Chief Minister of Karnataka, gave Pakistan a clean chit. Did Rahul Gandhi take any action against Siddaramaiah? Robert Vadra, Rahul Gandhi's brother-in-law.
But on the specific issue, ma'am, the specific issue on a special session of parliament and aircraft lost.
Did Rahul Gandhi take action against Robert Vadra?
2 specific questions that have been posed, ma'am. 1 on a special session of parliament, 2 on aircraft lost.
I'm coming to that. Gaurav, very quickly on special session, let me just say this. And now this is very, very important. Indian Constitution has no provision for a special session, but there is a provision for joint session. There is a provision for emergency sessions under Article 352. Point number 1. Point number 2. If the opposition was serious about a joint session or a special session, what have you, they should have addressed a letter to President Draupadi Murmu, because as the head of the executive, as the supreme commander of the armed forces under the Indian Constitution, the final decision about whether a special session will be held or not is hers. to take. And the final point, Gaurav, just bear with me for 20 seconds. 13th April 1984, there was Operation Meghdoot, post the Siachen standoff between India and Pakistan. The BJP was then in opposition, called for a special session. Congress said, Zarurat nahi hai. Operation Blue Star, 1st to 6th June 1984, Indira Gandhi said no need of a special session, though her own party leaders wanted one. Operation Pavan, 11th October 1987, went on for 3 years under an incompetent Rajiv Gandhi with more than 30,000 Sri Lankans and Indians losing their lives. People said, Rajiv Gandhi, special session bulao. Rajiv Gandhi ne kaha, zarurat nahi hai. And finally, Operation Cactus, 3rd November 1988. It was due to a regime change in Maldives, and India had taken a strong stand on that front, and we said call for a special session. And Rajiv Gandhi ने कहा जरूरत नहीं है, और आज यही कांग्रेस बीजेपी को भाषण दे रही है. थोड़ी शर्म आती है या नहीं?
Perfect. I've breaking news that's coming in. I have to interrupt this. There's a big story that we are breaking here on India Today. Sanju Verma and Arshdeep Karyal. Wait. There's a big story coming in. 6 Pakistani Air Force jets were lost as part of Operation Sindoor. Pakistan lost 2 airborne early warning command and control systems, the Saab area. They've lost over 30 missiles. They've lost a large number of unmanned combat aerial vehicles in combat and 1 C-130 tactical transport aircraft along with multiple cruise missiles. They were destroyed by Indian armed forces when India launched a series of missiles on Pakistan air to ground and other cruise missiles, including the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. Now, these are top sources in the government telling India Today. Sources who are part of Operation Sindoor, they've told our reporters that as per technical analysis of the data available with the Indian Air Force, Pakistan Air Force, at least 6 fighter jets of Pakistan Air Force were shot down during Operation Sindoor. One high-value aerial asset, which could either be an electronic countermeasure aircraft or an airborne early warning command and control aircraft, that was taken out during the strike, long-range strike by the Sudarshan Chakra or the S-400, and this was at a distance of over 300 kilometers is what sources are telling India Today. And that's the Saab, it's a airborne advanced early warning command and control system that was guiding Pakistani Air Force jets during this operation, and an S-400 caught it in its radar, and a missile was launched and it shot down an airborne early warning command and control system. These are huge unaffordable losses for Asim Munir, who since has promoted himself as Field Marshal. Sources have also told India Today during this 4-day conflict, the strikes at the Bolari Air Base, this is the latest, the newest airbase in the Sindh province of Pakistan, using an air-to-surface cruise missile resulted in the loss of the 2nd airborne early warning command and control system, and this time that aircraft was lost on ground. That was of Swedish origin. The Saab 2000 ARI was lost. There are inputs about loss of fighter jets on ground in the hangar too. But Pakistan, and this is something that you must know, India Today viewers must know, because we will also be putting out satellite imagery and other imagery that will show you that Pakistan is not even taking out the debris, it's just flattening that ground. So all the dead bodies inside in the debris, and this is for Pakistanis to know that they didn't respect their dead in Kargil. India had to bury them. Now when they have Pakistani soldiers and airmen dead at various air bases, and it's not restricted just to Bolari, it includes also in Noor Khan, dead Pakistani soldiers and airmen buried inside, they're not retrieving their bodies, they're flattening them down, and they're not even counting those losses on ground is what sources are telling India Today. So the Pakistani fighter jets, they were caught on Indian radars and Indian long-range air-to-air missiles and surface-to-air missiles. There is evidence, and that evidence at an appropriate time will be put out in public domain, that you see the Pakistani plane on the radar and suddenly blip, that's gone. It's no longer on the radar. It's just vanished after hits, successful hits by Indian air defense systems. The Pakistani Air Force also lost a C-130 on transport aircraft on ground. There was also a drone strike by Indian Air Force in Pakistan's Punjab province, and that's at Noor Khan. Noor Khan, incidentally, is not just their most important command and control base, it's also the transport base, it's a training fleet base. All of these were lost on ground. I want to quickly cut across to India Today's Manjeet Negi breaking this big story. First live and exclusive on India Today. Manjeet, these are amazing details that your sources are telling you. Manjeet, bring us details and the significance of these losses for Pakistan, Manjeet.
Well, Gaurav, the latest technical data analysis by the Indian Air Force and other agencies, this is now clear that Pakistan Air Force lost 6 fighter aircraft, 2 AWACS system, and 1 C-130 J Super Hercules aircraft. And because of the loss of 2 AWACS systems during the Operation Pakistan, that is why Pakistan Air Force totally blind. And and other information that the AWACS aircraft, Swedish system, lost by the Pakistan on the BrahMos attack by the Indian Air Force on the Bhulari and the Noor Khan Air Base. And there are input about the presence of fighter jets also in the hangar, especially in the Bhulari Air Base, and and Noor Khan also. And Pakistani fighter jets were captured by the Indian Air Force radar, and the air defense missile system was seen during the operation. And the Pakistan Air Force also lost the C-130 transport aircraft during the attack by the Indian Air Force in the Punjab province. So this is now very clear that the Pakistan Air Force lost 6 fighter jets, 2 AWACS system, and the numbers of the missiles, the drone, and the other high-value assets, air assets.
That's a huge story that Manjeet Negi is breaking. First live and exclusive here on India Today. Manjeet Negi's sources giving these details. And Manjeet, that's a huge loss for Pakistan. Do we have a breakup of the fighter jets that have been lost? Because there are some reports that seem to indicate that it wasn't just the JF-17s that Pakistan has lost. They've lost the JF-17s. They've apparently lost a Mirage, either a Mirage 3 or a Mirage 5, and perhaps even an F-16.
Well, the Indian Force, Air Force, and other agencies will also will provide the more detail about the details of the aircraft. But now the initial data analysis, the Air Force sources reveal that 6 fighter aircraft, including JF-17 and maybe F-16 fighter jet, lost during Indian attack. And the most important thing that the Indian Air Force used only the launch cruise missile to attack Pakistani airbase, no surface-to-surface missile launched against the Pakistan. And the one strike on the hangar by the Rafale and Su-30 jet, a significant number of the Chinese drones and other high-value assets lost by Pakistan. And there are more than 10 UAVs were also destroyed by the different bases, including Bhulari, Noor Khan, and other bases.
Manjeet, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. And like the Chief of Defense Staff, General Anil Chauhan said, it's not the losses, but the outcome that you should see. And look at the outcome. 9 terror bases, 13 Pakistani Air Force bases and radar stations, and that is the Indian side of the story. The Pakistanis have added another 8 to the losses on their side in that dossier that they've submitted to the United States of America and several other countries. So that is why the CDS says Pakistan collapsed in just 8 hours. He was speaking on the subject of future wars and warfare at the Savitribai Phule Pune University. Now, Pakistan had sought to put India on the mat in 48 hours, but Pakistan could not hold ground even for 8 hours. General Chauhan gave details, and I want to quote him here. He said on the 10th of May at about 1 a.m., there, as in Pakistani aim was to get India to its knees in 48 hours. Multiple attacks were launched, and in some manner, they escalated this conflict, which we had actually hit only their terror targets. Operations which they thought would continue for 48 hours folded up in 8 hours, and then they picked up the phone and said they wanted to talk. More details in this report.
Losses are not important. It's the outcome which is important.
The Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, speaks out on Operation Sindoor. Days after his interviews to foreign media admitting some initial losses, General Chauhan explained why these losses did not matter.
Losses are not important. It's the outcome which is important. I think it's a professional force that is not affected by setbacks or kind of losses, if you may say, because in war, what is important is, even if there are setbacks, you need to maintain your morale. That morale is to remain high. And then, of course, is adaptability. That is an important constituent of a very professional force. You should be able to understand what went wrong, rectify your mistakes, and go out again.
Speaking at the Savitribai Phule Pune University on Tuesday, the CDS elaborated on the gains made by the Indian forces.
Operation Sindoor created a kind of a history of sorts as far as air warfare is concerned. Successful operations were carried out against an adversary which was almost equally matched, if you can say. It is not operations against an adversary which had no air force or no air defense worth its salt. So it was against an adversary, and against that, if you are able to carry out relentless operations deep inside with precision and offensive in intent, I think that was a big achievement. And we were able to penetrate those air defense networks with impunity and at will.
General Chauhan revealed how India had called Pakistan's nuclear bluff.
Now Pakistan is faced with a different kind of a prospect, that he faces military action in case we find terror happening against us. India is not going to live under the shadow of terror, and neither nuclear blackmail.
CDS General Chauhan asserted that Operation Sindoor met its objectives. The question remains, has Pakistan learnt its lessons? India's new terror doctrine is crystal clear. Any terror act will be treated like an act of war. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now on India First is Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, former Kashmir Corps Commander, also former Director General of India's Defence Intelligence Agency. Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor is former Director General of Flight Safety and Inspections. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is former Consul General in Karachi and our former Ambassador to Italy. And from the United States, joining me is Michael Rubin, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and former official of the Pentagon. General Dhillon, if I may, is there merit in the CDS saying it was an innings defeat for Pakistan, and you don't ask the winning team how many wickets they lost? Was it an innings defeat for Pakistan?
Thank you, Gaurav, and good evening to the fellow panelists and your viewers. See, in a war, you go back to the history of First World War, Second World War, or the recent skirmishes or the conflicts which many countries have faced, including the United States of America. The overall result is what counts. It is like a boxing match. You don't count how many punches you gave and how many punches the other person gave, and you start claiming victory. It is the result by the referee which says, okay, finally so-and-so is the winner, because he played better and he gave more punches. Similarly, like General Chauhan, our Chief of Defence Staff, has said, it is not important how many losses. When you go into a war, losses will happen. Nobody can say that I am going into a war, full-fledged war, and I will not take any losses. No, that's not the way the wars are fought. Losses will happen, but in the end, who gives the final blow? Who brings down the complete air force and air defense of a nuclear country within 8 hours or within 3 days and 23 minutes of air warfare is a lesson in the history to learn from. And within 48 hours, they had wanted India to come to the knees. Within 8 hours, they were ringing up for a cessation of hostilities. Now, that is the lesson. We hit the targets with precision, no collateral damage to civilian or military installation. That is the winning. We hit their terror bases, and thereafter we hit their air bases with their complete air force and air defense to the ground. Now, that is the winning. Okay. We made sure they pick up the phone and call up the DGMO to ask for cessation of hostilities. Now that is the winning. You don't count few pennies here and there in wars. It is the ultimate ultimate defeat, which is absolutely clear, even in the dossier which they submitted.
Marshal Kapoor, there are losses in combat, but you see, outcome is what CDS says. Sure, there are losses in combat, but then why shy away from mentioning own losses in combat? Is there a reason for it, sir?
In any conflict, Gaurav, I have been telling it in all the forums. Has any time the Chinese accepted how many people have they lost in Galwan? Has any time the Americans said that how many aircrafts did they lose in Gulf War? Has Americans at any way said what assets did they lose in Afghanistan? As I was reading, they have lost 15 MQ-9s drones, each costing $70 million to $130 million, 15 of them in conflict around Yemen. Have they mentioned anywhere? Has Pakistani state apparatus said on any forum that they have lost so many aircrafts? Nobody says in any conflict. Nobody says, and I don't know why the narrative has been pitched to ask Indian Air Force or the armed forces to say what losses, what are you achieving by getting a figure? What I cannot understand. And like General Dhillon just said, it's a boxing match. In the end, both sides are professional armed forces. And another point to take on to what you just said, Gaurav, it is the conflicts of America and Israel are against a situation which is called air superiority. They have not even a favorable air situation. Within no time, they get a favorable air situation and air superiority, and they can launch operations. Here we went in totally contested airspace, totally well-defended airspace, and the kind of effort required to penetrate and hit with precision those targets is something which the country should be proud of. That's my take.
And that too a nuclear weapon state. Neither America nor Israel, no country in the world has taken another nuclear weapon state head on. It's only India that's done so, whether it's vis-a-vis China in Galwan or Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. And Trump's come out on top. Ambassador Dogra, did we win the war on ground, but Pakistan won that war of falsehood and setting the narrative?
Well, how does it matter? Even if Pakistan is able to convince, let's say, its own country and then the entire world that it has won the war, is it going to make any difference to us? Is it going to make any difference to the morale of our services? I don't think so. Pakistan is a past master in saying that we are the masters of the world. But that does not change the picture on the ground that they go around with a begging bowl. In fact, only yesterday, the Prime Minister said, I'm tired of begging countries for money. They now shun us away. So the reality is that Pakistan's bluff has been called. Countries know. In fact, there was an article just yesterday that I was reading from one of the respected American publications, Research Institute, RUSI, where they've given a blow-by-blow account of the first day's war, and they've given a factual account. And in fact, I've gone on record to say it'll be good if you give a similar account for the last day of the war. Because I want to remind your viewers of the in-between time. You know, when our screens, our television screens were full of anxiety about the various drones that were coming into India over Jammu, Pathankot, even Amritsar. And then slowly it emerged that each one of them had been shot down. Some shells and some drones may have fallen and done some damage, but the overall effect was that we came through that ordeal. That was supposed to be the Pakistan's big chance. And then what followed, as General Dhillon and the Air Marshal have very correctly and very wisely pointed out, is that we took on a formidable enemy, in this case Pakistan, and we were able to, despite their air defenses, we were able to get through and achieve our targets.
Yes.
The world that matters would know that India came through this in flying colors as an Air Force officer
You know,
was.
my only submission is, and I'll come back to you on that point. You see, if the Pakistanis realize that they've lost the war, then they would be dissuaded from attempting it again. But in their minds, if they think that they've won the war, they will think, let's do it again. So it must be drilled into their heads that they've lost every war to India. Unfortunately, while we win the war on ground, we never drive home the point, that Prithviraj Chauhan syndrome of letting the enemy go, letting Muhammad Gauri go. You let Muhammad Gauri go once, he will come back and kill you the next time, like he did with Prithviraj Chauhan in the Battle of Tarai, the second battle. So that's why when the enemy is down, just knock him out and don't let him breathe again. But I want to bring in Michael Rubin for a moment from the United States of America for his perspective. The battle on ground, Michael Rubin, was won by India. But that battleground has now shifted to the United States. So you have the Indian delegation there, you have the Pakistani delegation there, battleground Washington, D.C. But what games is the United States playing so far, not being very fair if you were to look at it from the Indian perspective?
You know, the United States position is going to simply be to ask for quiet, to ask for calm. And we're going to approach this with moral equivalence. I say this as an analyst rather than an advocate. But what we've seen most recently is that the Israelis and the Ukrainians, in their fight, respectively, against the Lebanese or against, in the case of Ukraine, against Russia, have ignored the United States and done what's necessary to win their war. And so India can listen to the United States, but ultimately it shouldn't rely on the United States diplomacy to protect Indian security.
What a lovely point you make there, Sir. General Dhillon, listen to the United States, but do what you have to do. Hear them out, but take your own decisions. The Israelis do that. The Ukrainians are doing that. And Michael Rubin is just back from Ukraine. General Dhillon, you agree? The Pakistani delegation it's going to the United States with a list of places bombed that include Baluchistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which hasn't been mentioned by own DG Air Ops in his briefing. Did we hit more and speak less in your appreciation, General Dhillon?
Gaurav, first let me, give a, you can say, rejoinder to the point which Mr. Michael has made. See, in the today's world, if you expect someone else to come and fight a war, sorry, you are mistaken.
True.
We have to fight our own wars. And as he very rightly said, Hindi mein kahavat hai, suno sabki, karo man ki. So we are in that position as the fourth largest economy, as the biggest democracy in the world, and 1/6 of the population of the world, and the might of the military of Indian Defence Forces. So we have to do whatever suits our interests the best. Now, coming to your point, Pakistan going with the list and including targets which our operational directorates have not given out. See, Air Marshal Kapoor has said it very rightly. We carry out analysis of the post-strike damage assessment. We carry out the analysis of our own losses, enemy's damages, and we give out the picture when we are absolutely clear and the damages to the enemy have been ascertained from multiple sources. We are not the ones who will go into the parliament and flash a newspaper which has been doctored and say Pakistani Air Force was the king of the skies. We are not the ones who will go into the House of the National Assembly and say so many losses and where is the proof? Proof is on social media. We are not the ones who will make claims without a base. We are a mature nation, we are a mature democracy, we are a mature nuclear power. When we will make a claim, it will be irrefutable. And that is how our defense forces have been. Wait for some time. After they have authenticated the damages to Pakistan, they will come out. As Mr. Manjeet Negi was just giving out few damages, you never know. They may well be correct, or they may well be more than this. Wait, and let's wait for the official version.
More than that. Yep. And especially about the casualties, because in the Kargil war, Marshal Kapoor, Pakistan, we had to bury Pakistani bodies on the Kargil heights. This time, apparently, Pakistan's burying its own bodies at those air bases, not even taking them out and sending them home to their families. At least that is what sources are telling us. But Pakistan claims to have downed X number of Rafales or Mirages or Sukhois or so they claim. Why are we permitting Pakistanis and the Chinese and a section of the Pakistani origin journalists in the West to get away with half-truths and absolute lies in some instances? If Pakistani planes have been downed, like one of their air marshals, retired air marshals, said about that AWACS or the Airborne Early Warning Command and Control System at the Bolari Air Base, why are we not saying it officially on record? Of course, Manjeet Negi has done that brilliant investigation and he's got that story just now, just moments before. But tell me, why aren't we saying this officially?
The present state, Gaurav, is called fog of war. The facts and figures will be coming out in due course, and I'm sure the services and the government will put out the final thing as and when. As of now, it is pause in Operation Sindoor. The forces are still deployed. There is a readiness all across, and it doesn't augur well at this stage to start, bean counting what has happened and what has not happened. Now, coming to the question which you mentioned in the passing, is the double standards. See, the Western origin equipment which was used by the Pakistani, because Turkey is also a NATO country, they would never want to highlight to the world that the Russian and Indian origin or Indian modified or indigenous equipment would take down their aircrafts. After Abhinandan shot down an F-16, the videos and the ground people saw two parachutes coming out. One was Abhinandan and one was their pilot. The next day, the Indians showed the AMRAAM piece in front of South Block. I'm talking 2019.
Yes,
and the Americans at that said, we will investigate how the Pakistanis fired the AMRAAM missile, which they were not supposed to fire. The F-16, they said, we will, find out. But why would America accept that their F-16 was shot? Why would they accept that their weapons did? Why will they accept that their Lockheed Martin radars were taken off on the first day? Why would they
let them not accept? We have facts. Let us put it out in public domain. We don't owe it to Lockheed Martin. We don't owe it to Americans. If we've downed an F-16, let's say danke ki chot par kehte hain na F-16 giraya.
See, there would be some reasons. See, I cannot be in a position at this stage to comment what is the reasoning, why it is not done. Yes, of course, you have a merit in saying the narrative has to be coming up. And I think so your responsible media like yours have a larger role to play now. The lesson for the media after this campaign is that in the beginning we saw some Karachi has been taken off, this thing has been taken off, this thing has gone, the fire in Central City, which is all fake. So
no, but Karachi was targeted. Malir cantonment is in Karachi. Government officially admitted that Karachi was targeted. So, because I spoke of Karachi being targeted, that's a fact, sir. Malir cantonment radar and that Lockheed Martin radar was taken out, sir.
I know that this came later. I'm talking when the hostilities had just begun on 7th. So there is some sort of a requirement of a national governing body which should take out the narrative, the government version. That is my take. The independent media from their sources gather, and each one has its own way of putting across things. The debrief or the thing which we should learn out of this 4-day conflict is to have a body, the central body, which gets the true picture to the nation or to the world. So this is
and it has to be done real time. Absolutely.
Yes.
It has to be done real time. It can't happen 4 days later and 40 days later. But Ambassador Dogra, like CDS General Anil Chauhan mentioned that an appropriate time based on ELINT and SIGINT, electronic intelligence and signal intelligence and radar data appreciation, they may share an assessment. He said that at the university today. But that would just end up being a footnote in history. Why are we not on the ball on facts? When we are on the ball when it comes to military operations, why do we let Pakistan build that narrative? And again, I come back to that point. If they know they've lost, they may not try it next time. They think they've won every war. They think they won 71 when they were split into two. They think they won Kargil. They think they're sitting on Siachen when they're not. We are on the Salt Ridge ridgeline. So they think wrong and we don't correct them.
Well, Gaurav, there are 3 points you made in your various interventions or various anchors privileges, and I would like to touch on each one of them. The first is this issue of narrative. I remember 16th of December 1971, Dawn, the Pakistani premier newspaper, had banner headlines saying victory on all fronts. But that did not change the situation. Bangladesh was created on that very day. General Niazi was busy signing the surrender documents in Dhaka. So I think, as has rightly been said by the Air Marshal, that we are a mature nation. We should let facts speak for itself. Otherwise, we'll become one with Pakistan. What we should do is really to drill home to the Pakistani public the fact that, like in Kargil, and even worse than Kargil, they have themselves decided to put a ton of bricks or mud or whatever on their dead bodies so that the nation forgets about them. I think that is demoralizing even for the serving soldiers and officers of the Pakistani army. That is the kind of thing that must be highlighted again and again and again. The other thing is the Prithviraj Chauhan syndrome, which you had mentioned. I don't know whether your American guest is familiar with it, but briefly to say that there was an Indian king a couple of 100 years back who won many times over a invader from Afghanistan. And each time he would pardon that invader. Finally, on the 17th time or so the legend goes, that Afghan invader was able to win in the battle against Prithviraj Chauhan, the Indian king. And what he did was, he dragged the king all the way from his capital in India to Kabul, tied on the tail of a horse. And he was kept
Blinded.
hungry, thirsty, he was blinded, and then he was buried there. So, yes, we should be aware that there is a limit to our generosity, there's a limit to our large-heartedness, but this time it is different. I think what we have done with the Indus Waters Treaty is the one which has all the answers that, Gaurav, you have asked. These Indus Water Treaty, if we persist with what we have decided to do, I think is the answer to every question that you may have on this court.
I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. Michael Rubin will be happy to get you back. You've just come back from Ukraine. We'll have you back on the show when we do one on Ukraine very soon. But the folklore in India, and that's also very inspiring, is a poem by Chandra Bardai, the poet friend of Prithviraj Chauhan. Now, the folklore goes that he actually killed Muhammad Ghori in the end. Even though blinded, there's a line that goes like Char Abbas 24 gaz angul asht pramad ta upar sultan hai mat chuke Chauhan. And that should be India's attitude at all times. Do not spare your enemy when the enemy is down. Decimate him. That is all I have for you on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching.